where I felt like the kid was just going to break down and cry and lose it and like have a mental breakdown. But his Ole Miss coach, who was there for several Ole Miss players, where Laramie Tunsil went to college, he was not the only one by any means. Vikings first round draft pick Laquan Treadwell, wide receiver, that's where he played his ball as well. And I want to say there was at least one or two other Ole Miss players selected in the first round. Robert Kimdichie, I believe. Another one towards the end there to Arizona. But as he's sitting there this whole time and they keep showing him, the coach of Ole Miss keeps coming over to him and consoling him, putting his arm around him, talking to him in his ear, trying to keep him positive. And I really liked that. I thought that was the way a coach should be. But unfortunately, Laramie Tunsil's level of gratitude and appreciation to his coaching staff and his university is extremely low, or his intelligence of how to go about showing that or protecting that is extremely low. One of the two, or maybe a combination of both. Because, like I said, it wasn't over for Laramie Tunsil. Once he finally got drafted, people, he's getting talked to, interviewed, all that stuff, and another new thing comes out on his Instagram, which was also hacked, stating that he had received financial benefits while playing football there. And so someone asked him about it, and he didn't deny, he didn't no comment. He basically straight up said, yeah, they paid me to play football there. They paid for my mom's rent and her bills and gave me some cash for food and stuff. And like, it was just boom, immediately threw his university under the bus. You can guarantee there's going to be an NCAA investigation now on Ole Miss, what they're doing at that program with the drug use and abuse on the players, with the illegal, at least according to their rules, player compensation and benefits that they are reportedly receiving, that he had no problem just admitting to and going, yep, they were paying me and my family. It was just, man, like, what? Could you just say, I'm not going to talk about that? Or, like, just no comment, okay? You don't need to lie. I'm not even asking you to lie. Just no comment, okay? Like, that is something that all you have to say is, that's a story that me and my agent will discuss in the future after we've had time to sit and talk about it ourselves. Something generic like that is all you had to do. You didn't have to just go, okay, sweet, I'm drafted, I'm a professional, I'm going to have my money, I got my job, okay, cool, screw the school that I went to and got all my free training and promotions for this new job for. That I actually liked a lot less and bothered me a lot more about him as a person and potential character issues that, teams might have with him, the Dolphins starting out at least, than the whole gas mask bong thing. Like, I mean, who throws your institution and the people who helped you get to where you are under the bus like that, man? It just, unnecessary, cold, stupid. That's what I don't like about the Tunsil story. Don't mind the bong thing whatsoever. Big deal. He's a kid in college. Whoop-de-doo. But like I said, what stood out to me is just that he burnt someone so bad and made them hate him, and so vindictive and vengeful towards him. Like that they acquired this incriminating material and they picked out their exact most hurtful moment to use it. It just says, boy, if there's people that he's having relationships with and, getting that strong of hate from, like, that's more of a red flag to me than the actions, in the pictures, is how this guy handles relationships, both personal and professional. So, But anyway, that was the big story out of the draft, starting things off, like I said, and then things got underway with the first pick and the second pick, and then the third pick, where really the Tunsil thing came into play. Because the first two picks, we all knew were going to be quarterbacks, with those two picks both being traded by the teams who originally had them to very obvious quarterback need teams who used those picks to select exactly who we thought they were going to. Well, if you didn't listen last week to my show, or didn't watch the draft or anything like that, let's go over the entire first round pick by pick, so that you know what happened. So with the first pick in the 2016 NFL Draft, the LA Rams, newly relocated, traded up from 15 to 1 to get that pick. They drafted quarterback Jared Goff out of California, hometown boy, the most ready to start right now of the quarterback prospects from what we're all told. And that was no surprise to me or most people. In fact, I was, like I said, proudly, I was one of the first people in the world to tout that he was going to be the number one pick immediately after the Los Angeles Rams made the trade to acquire the number one pick. The majority at the time was that they must be taking Carson Wentz because he's the consensus number one quarterback right now, and they must be trading up for a quarterback. But I took 20 to 30 minutes to think about everything and went, absolutely not. They're bypassing him for Goff. It's by far the better business move, for their team and what they're going through with the relocation and their current roster and the fan base and the ownership and just everything that's going on there. They need the hometown boy who's more ready to step in right now. And so then that left Philadelphia at 2, taking quarterback Carson Wentz from North Dakota State University. They, again, acquired the second pick in the draft by trading the 8th pick to the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns were believed to be in the market for a quarterback, but they didn't apparently feel that Wentz was their guy. So they traded out of that pick, got tons of picks, and we'll let you know exactly how the Browns did. But again, the Eagles, with that second pick, took quarterback Carson Wentz. Then things got interesting. This is where it was unpredictable at the third pick with the San Diego Chargers. I had them picking Laramie Tunsil. And if they didn't go Tunsil, I thought they would go Ronnie Stanley. Not because of any craziness, but because, I had a personal gut feeling that there were a lot of teams that liked Stanley more than Tunsil throughout the scouting process anyway. And I felt that on paper there wasn't much difference at all. When you watch the tape, I think you can see where Tunsil separated himself for some teams in regards to Stanley. But so I had them for sure going Tunsil or Stanley. And in the rare event that they don't take who they feel is the best offensive lineman with that third pick, then I had them picking the best defensive lineman in the draft, which I felt and most people felt was DeForest Buckner, who is also a perfect scheme fit for the 3-4 that the San Diego Chargers run. But the San Diego Chargers destroyed 98% or more of all mock drafts in the country when they made their third overall selection in the first round of the draft by selecting defensive end Joey Bosa. Now, Joey Bosa's name was definitely up there in the top 5 discussion range for the majority of the pre-draft scouting process and mocking process. It's definitely top 10. I don't think I saw anything go where he was going past 12. But nobody had him. Nobody had him going 3 to the Chargers. Not because he wasn't good, but he wasn't believed to be the best defensive lineman in the draft. That was Buckner. He was believed to be the second or third or fourth best. And like I said, he was believed to not at all be a scheme fit for the San Diego Chargers. Bosa is very Jared Allen-like as a 4-3 defensive end. And don't be surprised whatsoever if Bosa flops in San Diego, because he's playing D-end in a 3-4, which is very different than in a 4-3. You're almost more of a defensive tackle playing D-end in a 3-4. And there's no way that Joey Bosa has the speed and agility and quickness and just all of this, everything required to be an efficient and productive outside linebacker pass rushing in a 3-4 either. It just so I don't like the pick at all. It made zero sense to me. Had they gone with Buckner, I totally would have got it. That wouldn't have surprised me one bit. Their defensive line was extremely weak. A lot of people believed he was the best player in the draft, period, let alone the best defensive lineman. And like I said, just a scheme fit, a perfect scheme fit for what they do. So I don't get the pick at all. But again, San Diego Chargers with the third pick, destroying my frickin' mock, along with Laramie Tunsil, and taking defensive end Joey Bosa. That moved us to the fourth pick, where the Dallas Cowboys did what I said they shouldn't and wouldn't do, but we acknowledge that it was a possibility because it is Jerry Jones' team, and he's a moron, and he calls all the shots, and he loves himself the sexy pick that does not at all result in your team being any better, but it'll put butts in that big expensive stadium that you built, and it'll sell a bunch of merchandise and keep your team profitable, which I believe is all that Jerry Jones is really good for at this point in time, is keeping the Cowboys a profitable company. But as long as he is making personnel and football decisions, Dallas, you will never win a Super Bowl again, period, until Jerry Jones is not making football decisions. He can still stay the owner, but he's your GM. He's selecting the players that you take in the draft. Not a football mind, not a football expert or guy, a billionaire who just wants to make money on his investment. And he knows how to do that. But don't give him any credit for building the 90s dynasty. That was Jimmy Johnson that built that. Jimmy Johnson came in and basically put his hands around his neck every time they were signing free agents and making draft picks and said, this is what you're giving me or I'm out. And that's why they were able to build that awesome team. It wasn't because of Jerry Jones' football knowledge and expertise. It was because of Jimmy Johnson's. But so you're stuck with this incompetent person in charge, trying to follow an old, outdated formula for success, the only one he's ever known from a winning success standpoint, not a business profitability success standpoint. But so he fell slave to being Jerry Jones, and he selected running back Ezekiel Elliott out of Ohio State. Don't get me wrong, Ezekiel Elliott's probably going to be really good. He's probably going to put up some great numbers behind that amazing offensive line. But they've got a three-headed backfield, and their defense is still one of the 5 worst in the league after free agency and the draft. You had the chance to improve your team via wins. All he did was improve his team via star power, draw, marketability, and maybe some yards and points. But they're still going to get outscored over 50% of the time. Over 50% of the time it works every time. But it's really pungent. Stings the nostrils. But so, like I said, you had the Dallas Cowboys picking running back Ezekiel Elliott, number 4. A lot of people predicted that. I did not because, like I said, it wasn't the smart pick. There were so many easier, better ways to improve that team. And I'm curious, because I felt that their pick the whole time was Bosa. I felt like Bosa was their guy. They would pick him over Elliott. I can't help but wonder if the Chargers had picked Buckner, like they should have, and Bosa would have been available at 4, if the Dallas Cowboys would have still picked Ezekiel Elliott or not. I think they would have picked Bosa like I predicted and like they should have. But alas, that's not how it played out. Then finally back to number 5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, another one that I got exactly right. They take the best defensive back in the draft, safety and cornerback, as well as likely the best defensive player in the draft, likely the best athlete in the draft, likely the best player in the draft. Florida State's Jalen Ramsey, absolute home run for the Jaguars. Then at number 6, we had the Baltimore Ravens select Ronnie Stanley. I could have had that one predicted correctly. However, I thought they'd take Buckner if he was still available, and he was. So I was just a little bit surprised that they went with Stanley with Buckner available. But other than that, I figured Tunsil and Stanley were numbers 2 and 3 on their radar, on their wish list. Anyway, so, only semi-surprising there with the Ronnie Stanley coming off, the first left tackle drafted over Laremy Tunsil. That's where it was official that Laremy Tunsil is falling and not just